Well, hello there, fellow survivors. It is I, Andrew Vaughn, here at the Final Two, ready to give you thy opening statement. Anyway, um, you know, I'm sure that in this game alone, I have been called a lot of things. I know I've probably been called an asshole, a liar, a backstabber, a whiner, a complainer, a heartless, which is probably one of my favorite ones, jackass, a son of a bitch. Did I mention that one before? I mean, like I said, I'm sure I've been called a ton of things, and if I left any out, feel free to fill me in on them. But I'm here tonight to do my opening statement for you guys, for the jury, to try to convince you why I think I should win Survivor 5 Boroughs. And a lot of you really don't know me too well. Some of you do. I found a lot in this game. I kind of projected more of an image to some of you. Some of you I get to know really well, but to others, I never really got to know you. I get to project what I wanted you to know about me, and then sometimes I didn't talk to a lot of you. And since some of you don't know me, and some of you do, this is pretty routine for me. So in order to give you this opening statement, I'm going to have to do a little bit of this. It's about time for me to tell you why I think that I should be the winner of Survivor 5 Boroughs. First, I would like to point out something that I think is an amazing accomplishment in and of itself. Survivor 5 Boroughs is the second only online reality game that I've actually ever played. My very first game was Big Brother 8, LiveJournal 8, in which I came Final 4. I came into the game with a couple of objectives. First, I wanted to find. I didn't know anybody. Like I sort of knew I knew Stacy. I sort of knew Karen. I knew of Drew, and that was about it. I was certain that I didn't want to align with Stacy because I had crossed her in the past. I definitely knew I didn't want to align with Karen. So my first objective was to find someone who I could trust and get him really close with them, and that was Drew. And the reason I got in close with Drew is because I needed to send somebody out into the game who knew a lot of people and get them to know me and build a relationship with me based on Drew being the bridge. So I had Drew, and from there I started talking to Cynthia and Andy, and from there was the second part of my plan, which was to form a small group of people who would trust me and who I got along with greatly, so that we would have our Final Four group right there. Now, within that group, I had already promised a Final Two alliance with Drew, but I had already at that time known that Drew was not going to be my Final Two alliance. The more secret part of my plan was finding someone that I connected with so well in the game that I could have an absolute Final Two alliance that we could keep a secret as much as possible. And that came into place a few weeks in the game when I met Josh. Josh and I got along extremely well. For the longest time, we didn't even talk about game. It was more comparing things in our lives. I think the only difference Josh and I have in our lives is that Josh is gay and I'm straight. I mean, it's kind of like driving, right? If you don't drive for a long time, they don't take away your license or anything. So yeah, we got along super well, and then one day it just clicked to the both of us. And we said, why aren't we working together? And we both formed our true and honest Final Two right there. And it was important to try to keep it. It was alright if people knew that we talked and people knew that we were friends, but it was important to try to keep it was my actual alliance a secret as much as possible. I told Drew that I had an alliance with Josh and that I was using Josh. Part of getting Drew to trust me was telling him everything that I was doing in the game, but making it sound like I was doing it for him and me, not Josh and me. We took our group of 4 and we made sure that we connected with 3 other people so we could have 7. None of them knew that I was connected with Josh, and I did not know Jess or Carrie or Kari. I'm fucking terrible with names, so I apologize. Is it Jer or is it Jur? I still don't know. Is it 80 or Addy? I don't fucking know. You people. Is it Andy or Andy? So we had the group of 7, and I had every intention at some point of turning on that group of 7, and every intention of turning on that group of 4. From the merge, when the two tribes became one, there was only one vote out, one elimination, one tribal council that did not go the way that I wanted it to, and that was the original attempt to eliminate Jess from the game, when I had everybody on board with a story that I didn't even say was true. I said it was a theory, and they all thought it sounded very plausible and wanted to eliminate Jess. Eventually, I was able to use Becca's unanimity to get Jess out of the game. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that later. And I took a lot of public heat for doing stuff like that. I took a lot of heat for doing a lot of things in this game. I took a lot of heat for what I did to Jess. I took a lot of heat for what I did when I convinced everyone that Carrie and Cynthia should be voted out before they thought they would get voted out. Everyone, I think, presumed that the final 5 was going to be Andy, Drew, me, and Cynthia, and Kari. And I made sure that I wanted those 2 out because I thought they were strong threats and strong players, and I didn't know if I could beat them in a competition. I convinced everybody to change their votes and see it my way, that they were the better option to have out. And I was the one who started the ball to get them eliminated from the game, and I took full responsibility for that. There are a few votes in this game in which players did not take responsibility for who they wanted out of the game and how they went about getting them out of the game. They wanted to send sympathy votes. They wanted to be nice to them on their way out. And I took public and open heat for everything that I wanted to do in this game, and I got it done. One of my biggest strategic moves that I would have to say in this game, though, was when I crossed Drew and voted for him to be eliminated and Josh to stay. Drew was pretty upset that I had, but within a matter of 10 to 15 minutes of talking to him, I managed to convince him that I was still exceptionally loyal to him, that I had not betrayed him, that it was more of a guilt vote, and that I was pulling for him to make it through. I even got him to admit that if he pulled through, he was still loyal and would take me to the final 2 if he won. Meanwhile, I had Josh on the other side, who I was really truly rooting for, who knew I was telling all of this to Drew, by the way. And luckily it turned out that Josh could beat Drew, which is what I was banking on. It was a risky move, but it's a move that you play when you're playing any sort of thing that involves a sort of gamble on something, and it worked out. Drew was gone. It put me and Josh in an advantage against Andy, and the only solo immunity challenge I ever needed to win in this game to guarantee me being where I wanted to be was the final immunity. And I'm not going to say it was an easy task, because it wasn't, but I did win it, and I think that's an exceptionally noteworthy point. So all in all, why do I think I should win Survivor 5 Boroughs? I think, and I hope, that when you guys go to vote, that you put all personal feelings aside, because I'm not sure if you really know the real me, and I'm not sure if I really know the real you. And anything I did in this game was not personal. It was exceptionally strategical. And I did it all to advance me from a point that I had at the beginning of the game to where I wanted to be at the end, with who I wanted to be at the end. And I can honestly say, and it sounds exceptionally cocky, I'll admit it, but so many people have told me the exact same thing. I was the best player, hands down, in this game because of the risks and the moves that I made strategically to get me where I am now. I play the game better than anybody, and that is why I feel I deserve to win Survivor 5 Boroughs. Thank you.